How's it going, everyone? This is Javita. Release 182 is finally live. This brings us the signs. However, I've already made a video covering the signs pretty well. I will cover that signs are crafted. First, you have to have the skill of common furnishing recipes, and then after that, it's any stone, glue, and ink extract. The color of the sign is dictated by the stones. There are also modular signs for making larger than one block signs. That requires the advanced furnishing recipes, and it's the same recipe, all made in the workbench. So this is kind of the everything and the kitchen sink too kind of update. There's just a crazy number of things that they added and fixed and tweaked and improved. It's like, you know, I'm not going to be able to cover everything. Please check out the Boundless forums if you want a complete list, but I will pick out what I think are some of the highlights. Okay, so the first thing you'll notice is, of course, this message right here. This just tells you that all of your skill points have been reset. So now you can respec your character if you feel like you've made any mistakes or whatnot. And the next thing you're likely to notice is when you go over to skills, you now will probably have more skills. The new maximum number of skill points you can have is 1200. That's an additional 200 skill points to play with. Now don't freak out if you look here and this is 0. This showed 0 for me when I initially logged into the game. However, as soon as I actually entered the world, then it updated and gave me all my skill points. So if you want to make sure you have a super nice build, you can head over to boundlesscrafting.com. Stretchius has a work in progress skill calculator going on his website, and from what I've seen, it looks pretty darn good. It does everything you'd really want it to do. The only thing is some of the icons aren't exactly up to date, but who cares? It works. So going down the skills, they've kind of rearranged several things. One thing that they've done is they removed the sprint skill. So now you can sprint from the very beginning of the game, which is just amazing. I mean, I know that I had quite a few questions of, you know, how do you sprint, how do you run? And it's like, well, you have to go to character and skills, and you have to level up to at least, what, level 4 or something like that. So now there's no longer that confusion. In its place, there is a new skill right here, advanced block placement. As you probably noticed in previous versions, depending on how you looked at where you were placing a block, it would be in kind of different orientations. Now that ability is essentially locked behind this skill, so if you wanted to, you could take all of these and leave this skill untaken, and then all of your blocks would be locked in the basic orientation, which I could certainly see some uses for that. Or you can take this skill and have the full range of block placement options. So pretty neat. If you didn't already know, you do not have to take all of these, you only have to take 4. So if you don't want to take the advanced block placement, you can take creep instead. If you want advanced block placement, you can skip creep. Pretty much all of these other ones are a must-have. The next big change in the skill trees are the masteries. As you can see here, each mastery tree has been reduced to 5 tiers instead of 10. So at the end of the day, it's more or less the same. It just takes less skill investments to both learn and unlearn if you decide you don't require as much mastery. Some additional quick notes on mastery. With no mastery, you can use the wood, stone, copper, and iron tools effectively. The first rank of mastery will allow you to use silver tools effectively. Rank 2 will be gold, 3 is titanium, and 4 is all gems. Rank 5 is not currently utilized. That's going to be reserved for, I believe, is going to be dark matter, blink, rift, and the exotic materials that are yet to be added to the game. Another thing you probably notice is now chisel mastery is quite a bit different, and that's because the use of the precise chisels is now gated behind these skills. So if you want to use the precise slope chisel, here's the skill you need. So now Chisel Mastery actually has a use. Next up we have a slew of changes pertaining to building specifically. One of the coolest changes is that there's some much needed improvements to working with the plotting system. So first off, you can go straight to your beacon, and there's now a new option for color. You can place in any color of unrefined gleam in order to apply that color to your beacons. So as you can see, my plots now have a slight red tint to them. Also, if the plot remover, the plot that you have selected, is now flashing, so it makes it perfectly clear which plot you're actually about to remove. And then if you switch over to the beacon plotter, it now displays the white block much more clearly, plus it has a plus plus it has a plus sign right there on the face of the plot that you're adding to. So this makes it much easier to place plots with confidence now that they can be differentiated from other players' plots. And if you're staying inside, you have this big huge plus to designate where the plot is actually going to be placed. So pretty cool stuff. Another cool addition to building is that now the character no longer tries to place a block unless there is a valid place for it to actually be. Which kind of sounds confusing, but right now I'm trying to place this block at my feet and my character is not even trying. Prior to this, the character would try to place the block and nothing would happen. Where this comes in real handy is when you're trying to build a tower going straight up. All you have to do is hold down both the spacebar and the mouse button, and you'll only place a block when there's a valid opening for one. It's pretty cool stuff. Prior to this, you had to like jump and time it just right, and it's kind of annoying. So, nice quality of life change there. Also, if you spend a lot of time in the water either building or just exploring, you'll be happy to note that swimming is now much more responsive, and that the player can now consistently keep their head above the water. This will be something that'll be hugely helpful for anybody that's building underwater. Spark Cord as well as mini machines also had quite a few updates. As I already demonstrated in my sign video, Spark Cords now have much more realistic physics. So for those of you that like to use these for things other than what they are intended for, like evil jumping puzzles and the like, you can now do some pretty interesting things with them. They also have a unpowered and powered state. So as you can see there, it glows when it's powered, and it's just kind of this dull looking color when not powered. Also, many of the restrictions have been removed from placing crafting devices. Previously, this was pretty much as compact as you could get crafting tables, but now you can just slap them side by side. This is also true for all the other machines, with a small limitation in that you cannot place the same type of machine next to each other, but you can place different machines next to each other. So in other words, I need to rip all of this out and redo it. And also another side effect of this is that for some reason all the machines have been kind of shuffled, and that I had all of these machines arranged to where a particular block would be showing. However, much of it has been shuffled around and is now displaying the wrong block as a face here. Your alts are now automatically displayed under the beacon permissions. So now when you make an alt, you can add them to your build, and they can then access not only your stuff, but build and craft and whatnot. For crafters, they made a number of changes. You'll notice now that when you open up a crafting machine, that it immediately goes to recipes. This is a little bit disoriented if you're used to the previous way, but one of the significant reasons why this is that now crafting machines will automatically pull not only from their own outputs, So when you craft something, and if it's an ingredient, it can now pull from here, but it will also automatically pull from the player's inventory. I did a little bit of testing, and the priority for this is that it will always try to pull from the storage first, then it will try to pull from the output, and finally it will pull from the player's inventory if the first two does not have what it needs. This should make crafting a little bit more seamless. However, you may have to be a little bit more careful what you have in your inventory if there's stuff in your inventory you don't want the machine to use. As far as the recipe list, you may have noticed that there's some changes here. There's no longer the craftable and uncraftable section. Now you have just a flat alphabetized list, and up the top there's now arrows for filters. So there's filters for weapons, tools, props, machines, items, blocks, currently craftable, and then no filter at all. So if you're looking for what you can currently craft, all you have to do is go to that particular filter. As you can see, I apparently have no ingredients to craft anything from this workbench, but come over here to the crafting table. Yeah, currently craftable. Here's all the things that I can make with whatever happens to be both in here and my crazy inventory. Another thing to note about the crafting changes is that now crafting tables as well as power cores and furnaces will now occur where properly. So now you'll actually have to repair those crafting machines, furnaces, and power cores. In the case of power cores, if you have multiple placed together with different states of wear, it will calculate the average wear between all connected power cores. Moving on to the user interface, in addition to the filters now available, there is a knowledge section in the main menu. It takes the place of the social, and knowledge is simply all the stuff your character knows how to craft. Again, you can use the filters to filter this out. This should make it a lot easier to find what you're looking for. If you say forgot that the extractor had to be crafted by the workbench and that requires basic crafting recipes, or that gold alloy is made in a mixer. Another handy feature of this is that down at the bottom you can see what some potential uses for this will be, such as crafting titanium alloy, and even that there is one that this character does not know how to make yet. As I mentioned, the social is no longer displayed here. It has been moved under character, and now there's a new tab for friends. Another cool addition to the user interface is now that when you look at a tool and you look over here at difficulty, you can see that this gem hammer needs 4 ranks in mastery. And then out in parentheses it has how much mastery I actually have, which is 0. Down here it gives you the mastery effect, so I'm doing a negative 50% damage. So up here I'm doing 200 damage, and right here it has the negative 200, so all in all this hammer would do 400 damage if I had the appropriate mastery. So pretty cool. Let's see here, does it show? Oh, okay, so here we go. It even works for grapples as well. So you can see that you're getting literally half of what this grapple can do. So you're getting less max range, less projectile speed. So this might actually get me to invest into some grapple mastery. Okay, so I just did some tests on the grapples, and it's kind of strange. The max range, that applies to when you've already attached to something. So as you can see here, I'm at 30 odd meters away from this target, and I can still grapple onto the target. However, I'm automatically reeled in to 18 meters. I can't reel out any further, so it doesn't affect how far away I have to be to actually grapple onto things. I just can't reel out to the max range of the grapple. Another change that affects crafting machines in particular is that now your interact distance equals your block placement distance. What this really means is now when you put crafting machines on the ceiling, it is much easier to access them. Previously, in order to access this machine, I had to jump and then hit the activate key just to be able to use it. Now I can just look at it like anything else and use it. It should be particularly useful not only for crafting machines, but placing signs as well. So pretty cool. Another interesting change to the friends list is now Steam friends are automatically added to your in-game friends list. This should make it much easier for new players to find their Steam friends in the world of Boundless. So that's pretty awesome. And another awesome thing, it's not exactly a user interface thing, but objectives now automatically complete. You no longer have to go to your journal to complete the objectives. As you can see here, the completed and uncompleted are all kind of mixed together. However, there's the filter option up at the top that very neatly sorts them out for you, depending on what you're looking for. Okay, moving on to combat. They made a number of changes to improve combat. One thing I'm particularly excited for is that the Spitter's projectile is now synced with its animation, allowing you to better predict when it's actually going to fire. Another cool thing is that creatures' resistance is now a chance to avoid all damage rather than a flat damage mitigation. This means that when you do damage, you'll always do the maximum amount of damage. However, there will be times where you do 0 damage. And as you can see here, the Cuddletrunk's projectiles are much faster. However, they are still pretty easy to avoid, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Moving on to performance, they've done some pretty cool things. The first thing you'll probably notice is that portals have been slightly reworked. Now they do not load unless they are within line of sight of the player. So if there's something obstructing the player from seeing the portal will not load. Also, the portal will not render unless it's actually looked at. This allows the game to prioritize which portal to load and avoid needlessly loading numerous portals just because you're walking through a town. Let's find a spot with several portals to kind of demonstrate this. So as you can see here, unrendered portals will display as their atmosphere color. So this one leads to Thurka, it's a nice blue color. And this one leads to Volto, and for some reason is a yellow color. I would have figured it would have been red. Let's take a look at the Volto sky and see what it... Oh, well, it's night, so... yeah, I guess the sky is yellow at Volto. Here we go. This one leads to Alternate, so it's kind of a purple color. You can now also see portals through other portals, however they'll be in the unrendered state so as to not melt your computer. And as you can see here, portals and warps now have a loading bar to give you some idea of how long it'll be before it loads. So pretty cool stuff. As you can see, it's pretty darn snappy. Portals aside, they've also made strives to make chunk data 50% smaller, so in other words, you're going to load the world 50% faster. They've also added support to allow delivery of chunk data versus CDNs, which reduces the load on servers and allows for faster downloads for players in the same geographical region. At any rate, this should wrap up this video quite nicely. As I said before, there's no possible way I could go over every little detail, so feel free to check out the Boundless forums if you want more information on this particular patch. My next upcoming video is most likely going to be over the Mobius Plaza. I had a request to kind of tour this and explain how it works. I did make a suggestion to wait at least until the signs come out, because that should make portal hubs a lot easier to use. As you can see here, he's already in the process of doing just that. I look forward to doing it, especially since I'm not as familiar with this portal hub as, say, other portal hubs. And depending on how well the video does, I might move on and do other portal hubs as well. Anyway, this was Javita. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And if there's anything you didn't like, please let me know down below. Until next time, peace.